to public court, it's uncollectible, meaning you can do it privately, administrative process. The same year that you establish that final administrative process is the only year that you can make use of it. In other words, you've created a voucher with that judgment privately.
I want you to consider this before or as you watch this video. There was once a time where it was illegal. Then it was written down on pen and paper and it was enforced by fellow flesh and blood humans. It was once illegal to teach a slave how to read and write. In other words, it was a crime to educate someone. And the only way that man or woman in society was considered a slave was based on their level of competence. In order to keep someone a slave, reduce their level of competence. Hence, the Board of Education stated intent that we went over in this video. It was realized very quickly that it is quite outlandish to blatantly prevent someone from being educated. Therefore, they simply took over the education system and made it into a form of religion, whereby people cannot speak out against it and people are obligated to behave and just go through the motion a certain way, despite the outcome not benefiting them. When it comes to education, the same results that once existed when it was abrogated for one to educate the other man, it's the same result that people are still getting with formal education.
Equality of opportunity is separate from equality of outcome. To be aloof to this is to set oneself up for many failures, disappointments, and residue of mental baggages, all because of not being aware of the basic things. So when words like equality or due process is presented to people, there's usually an assumption that those words are the same as outcome, without realizing that outcome and opportunity are two separate things. And each of those instances has its own respective application of what equality is. When people speak to you about equality or due process, mentioned in state and federal constitutions, and that equality or due process is not particularized, know that there's a blank space that you, on the other end, must fill in as to what it applies to. Equality and opportunity must always be qualified, in other words. Within modern money mechanics, debt is not something you run away from. Debt is something you go to. But remember the element of qualifying something? Debt comes in two forms: good debts and bad debts. Good debts can only exist if you are competent to have the financial literacy, financial education, to be able to use that same debt that will be bad for someone and turn it into good. But what if the debt is already bad and you're trying to mitigate it in a manner that benefits you? In other words, convert it into a good one on a personal level. Well, let's go to the horse's mouth. IRS. They tell you they have a topic number 453. Bad debt deduction. You're going through your daily affairs, you're handling your business, things happen. You can write it off as bad debt. There are many things that can be written off. What we're speaking of in particularity here are bad debt. The word deduction is another word for write-off, meaning it's deducted. And what is it being deducted from? Deductions don't exist unless there's something as a whole that something is being removed from. So what is being deducted from? The taxable amount, the dingable amount, meaning someone has their hands in your pocket. As they place their hands in your pocket, they grab a huge lump sum. From that huge lump sum that they can grab, you can deduct a specific amount from what they grabbed so that you can keep that effective amount that you've deducted in your pocket. This is part of the operation of modern money mechanics. This is part of where it branches out into. According to the big bad wolf that everyone either loves or just hates, it's usually black and white. And the hate usually comes from an element of fear. If someone owes you money that you cannot, debt is closely related to your trade or business if your primary motive for incurring the debt is business related. You can deduct it on Schedule C Form 1040. Remember I told you in other videos that the scheduled forms is how you deduct profit and loss from business, also used for sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship is if you have a DBA. The reason why I tell you to do DBA is to merge the interest of one to the other, because it's considered sole proprietor. Look up the term proprietorship yourself. And I assume you know what sole is, to make things one. Or on your applicable business income tax return. This applicable business income tax return are dealing with other forms that can be used on a business level. The following are examples of business bad debts. The big bad wolf, IRS, tells you and gives you all the information clearly. Maybe not to the details we're explaining, but at least even a layman can read this and go, there's something here. The following are examples of business bad debt. They give you examples. Loan to clients, suppliers, distributors, and employees. Credit sales to customers or business loan guarantees. See this first part, loans to clients, suppliers, distributors, and employees? This is what we're going to be doing once many different trusts come together to do certain things. We're getting there, step at a time. But you can do this yourself also. You may deduct business bad debt in full or in part from gross income. Remember I mentioned earlier what gross income is? From gross income when figuring your taxable income, meaning whatever is going to be able to be taxed from that 100K that you made within a year. And of course, we're just using 100K as a figure here as an example. So from that 100K you made before it's taxed, aka gross income, you can deduct. Deductions applies to gross income. So that whatever is left, so say the tax bracket of 100K is, you have to pay 40% of that. That's 40K out of 100K gone right there. So that 40K that's usually taxable, you can remove about 10% out of that. Just using one means. Just using one means. And then there are other means. Yep. You may deduct business bad debt in full or in part from gross income when figuring your taxable income. For more information on business bad debt, refer to publication 334. Non-business. If your capital losses exceed your capital gain, if your capital losses exceed your capital gain, the amount of excess loss that you can claim to lower your income is the lesser of 3K. That's if you're single. 1,000. The contract and the certificate, the name of the debtor, the contract and the certificate, and any business or family relationships between you and the debtor. The contract and the certificate. This is the difference that I was mentioning when I say that the promissory note for the birth certificate non-UCC will be different from this one. Unless you really are trying to set yourself up because you're eager and you're not patient, you would probably try to use that with this. But I implore you not to if you want to go the smart way and not create problems for yourself. The effort you made to collect the debt, the sequence of administrative process and invoice, those things that I mentioned, and why you decided the debt was worthless. The judgment, one of the things that was mentioned, it is 75 pages long. And everything we just mentioned in this video is the summary of what you will get from it. This is the advantage that you have with these videos that I'm taking time to create. Because all the times that I took to read all these publications and see all these blue cute links, clicking it, reading it, months after months, and you're being shown the black and white, going directly to the sources, not some feel-good talk, not some instant gratification, none of that crap. Just showing you the black and white and clarifying it to you.
The complete 46-minute video is on the Patreon page. Take care. Best of luck.